All right, I just hit the button. Holy smokes! The September show
Hit the button.
might be out.
Man, crazy.
Well, hopefully we'll appear on
The
YouTube
chocolate ice cream like
They
button.
look to be coming through.
momentarily. Oh,
You
yeah, that was
coveted
quite
my ice
quick.
cream bar.
Oh,
We
let me
move
mute that.
this.
There we go. Oh, and that also let me change that audio source. Welcome, listeners. If you... oh, Spinal's in there straight away. That must be because we started an hour late. I bet he's just showed up. Normally we're just finishing. So, hello, Spinal. Hello to anyone else who's there and who I can't see.
We figured him out. Built the whole damn show around this moment, but here we are.
Scott is available in video soon.
All right, I
He's
think
just
we're gonna
trying
be better in
to
a second.
organise a camera, and he's only just got out of bed. So you've got the three of us. Sparkle may join us by phone.
Ow, Christ! Ah!
And he may
He's
not.
just been attacked by
Yeah,
the
and I
cat.
gotta repel this monster again.
Yeah. Mind you, having said that, I just did evict Raven from the room and shut the door behind her, so she ain't coming back.
Well, the problem is that those cats get all gummed up in your cables and stuff.
Yeah. So, we can start with the usual gubbins of what we've been
Tell
up
you
to.
what, Raven would love to meet Azov here. Holy shit!
Probably eat her. So, what have we been
Well,
up
I'm
to?
currently taking on
Let's wait
interspecies
then.
wrestling.
We've got a new great interrupter.
He's relentless. Well, yeah, the great thing about him, I mean, he's a Ukrainian battle cat, right? And he's seen some shit. So he is down to clown. He doesn't care, man. You want to record? He's here to take out the webcam.
Down to clown.
All right.
DTC.
Sucking up American tax dollars all the time. All right, let's see here. We may have a much more usable image, but please proceed, gentlemen.
Okay, so what have we been up to since last month? I feel like the last couple of months there hasn't been a great deal that I've been up to and talked about. I feel like I've done a lot, but not really got anywhere. But I've got a few notes here. So I mentioned a while ago on the show I bought some Hawkstone Lager, Clarkson's Lager, and it was just all right. I'm not really a lager drinker anyway, but you got to try it. So I found a shop that we were in that sold the full range of his stuff. So they had the lager. They have, he does now a session lager. I didn't get that. Like I said, I'm not really a lager drinker. The cider, which if you've watched the show, and you must have done by now, spoiler alert.
Question there, Mike. Since
Say again.
I got a question here. Since I retired from drinking a number of years ago, I missed out on the session lager. What is a session lager?
It's generally not as strong flavor-wise or alcohol content, so you can use it over a longer session without getting all jiggity.
It's the equivalent of a driving beer.
Yeah, it's a good driving beer. So he did...
Okay, yeah, because they used to have this commercial for a American beer, and it was their motto in the little jingle was Schaefer's beer, and it was like the most god awful cheap beer. But it was their motto was the beer to have when you're having more than one.
Yeah,
That's how
I've
they
seen
marketed
that.
their
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. So, if like I say, it's a month's old show now, the last season. So if you haven't seen it, no apologies for the spoiler alert. But there were issues with his cider, shall we say? So they didn't have any of that in stock. But he did an IPA, and I'm a fan of IPA. So I did pick up a case of his IPA. It was just all right. He's He's a TV star. He's not a beer maker, and I know he doesn't make it himself, but it's average beer. There's nothing special about it, other than the guy behind it, I guess. So I was underwhelmed with his beers, but I'd like to try his cider, and I will give that a go at some point. What else have I been doing? So, book-wise, been reading quite a few books. I think I've mentioned before the Richard Osman books. He's a TV star over here, and he turned author a few years ago, writes some amusing books. So his latest one's out, so as Scott leaves us temporarily. His latest one's out, so I just finished reading that. Should we wait for Scott to return?
Possibly.
Yeah, might do. And then I'll actually, while we're waiting, I can. How do I do this now? Pop out the chat and add it to our thing. Pop out chat. There we go. So let's copy that. Let's do that. This is all exciting for the listeners, isn't it?
That's
he's coming back.
Excellent radio.
He's coming back. Embed that. There we go. Boom.
Yeah, my internet connection was just bouncing.
Yeah, UA's back now.
Both modems. So my provider's having them one of them days.
Now, how do I return the chat? Having popped it out, shall we say? There it is. If I just close it, I think it reappears. There it is. Let's revert it to live chat rather than top chat. There it is. Okay. I shall resume. Movies-wise, there was a new... Random mentioned it last month. I'd never heard of it. The new M. Night Shyamalan movie, Trap, or The Trap. So I grabbed that, watched that. Big disappointment. And like some of his films I really like, and you get a good twist at the end, and I'm waiting for it. Oh, there's the credits. Maybe there wasn't one after all.
Have you not figured
That's
out
the
for
twist.
20 years?
the twist is there is no twist. Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, just very disappointing. I thought he was really poorly acted as well. I thought it was terrible. Anyway, his daughter was the main star in it as well, which
Yeah.
I think maybe a bit of shoehorning family in, a bit of nepotism, shall we say? But yeah, don't waste your time. TV wise, I finished Fallout. I thought it was okay. I thought it was reasonably good. I would watch another season. It's not the best show out there, but lots of potential, I think. So yeah, good show. I've started Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's been all right. I do like Mandalorian, and that will be due back anytime soon. Obi-Wan Kenobi's okay, just okay. So about halfway through that, I think. There was a show a few years ago in the UK called Sherwood, which was based on two real-life murders, and they did a second season recently, so I watched both of those. Worth a watch, definitely. An Australian comedy I've mentioned before, Colin from Accounts, that's just come back for season 2. I watched that. That's just fantastic. It's a real grower. I watched the first episode originally and just thought, nah, I don't like that. And then people were telling me, no, dude, you got to keep going. So I went back to it and then just like marathon the whole first season. And then, like I say, second one's just come out. I've just watched that. Brassic, I've mentioned that before. Latest season of that is out now. Finished that last night. Always good. Brilliant. And, of course, we had the final ever, so they say, and I've no reason not to believe them, the Grand Tour. I'm assuming we all have watched it.
Yes.
Scott? Is there a delay, or has he not got audio? I don't
Come
know.
in, Virginia.
No, not without Hammond, Clark, and May. It's not Grand Tour. It's not even.
No, the Grand Tour is. Did you watch the latest one, the last one? Ah. There may be issues. I'm
Yes.
expecting a message incoming. Anyway, I shall continue.
Oh, I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about their shitty continuation of Top Gear.
No, the
No,
Grand
no.
Tour with May, Clarkson, and Hammond. You've seen those. What's he said? Modem's
Yeah.
bouncing. Got to switch to Starlink. Okay.
Being fucked by
Elon
Cox.
saves the day. Anyway, it was a good one to go out on, kind of.
Yes.
So it's there was nothing real groundbreaking in it. We've seen all this kind of stuff before, but it was a good one. I enjoyed it, and they're all concentrating on other things now. So whatevs. Maybe they'll do another one when they're 70. Who knows? So the games-wise, board game-wise, anyway, the mill where the computer museum is, that I might have mentioned before, has a tabletop club in there. And they have like Magic Nights and all that kind of stuff. They have D&D groups that go in there, and just across the corridor is a micro pub. So that floor of the building become quite popular. So, and it all seems to be going quite well. Every time I walk past there, I go into the museum every Wednesday, and I always just stick my head in the tabletop club. And there's always people in there playing.
Shout
So.
nerds.
Yeah, nerd alert! Yeah, flick me cig end in there and walk off. I'll wait for Scott for this one. What else have I done? Oh yeah, so throughout the show you'll hear little clips as usual, and that is a new podcast that we've discovered called the Deep Dive Podcast, and we've partnered with them. And if you go to retrogamingroundup.com/deep dive, you can keep up to date with their podcasts as they come out. And they're currently reviewing Smoke and Mirrors. So have a listen to that. That's retrogamingroundup.com/deep dive. Like I say, you'll hear some clips in the show, but there will be more episodes coming. I don't know how often. Maybe weekly. Maybe every time I remember to put a new one out. But anyway, yes.
What the fuck's going on with the font on their names?
Where are you looking? Are you looking at retrogamingroundup.com/deep dive? I should have gone there before I said it, really, shouldn't I? The font on their names. Let's have a look. Oh, there's a reason for that. Can you not figure out what the reason is?
It's not as part of the style
No.
that the rest of the paragraph's in.
No, there's a reason.
Oh,
that...
sorry, no, right, yeah, I get the right, the subtle, clever.
I heard a noise then. I think it was a penny dropping.
It was more the MY and the AN, like if it had been like all caps like the rest of it, and then just bold the initials, maybe.
I'll get them to edit that.
Yeah.
Next time I speak to them, I'll get them to edit that. So I think that's just about me then. While we wait for Scott to return, unless you wanna go around him. I've got another thing to talk about, but we can wait for Scott for that one.
I can go while he's reconnecting. So yeah, gaming wise, spent the first half of the month travelling and adventuring, so not played a great deal, but I have now finally finished The Angel of Darkness, which finished with a kind of a incoherent and abrupt cutscene, is what I described it as to someone. Didn't story throughout the whole game didn't really make any particular sense. Was very threadbare, and yeah, it tried its best to scupple me with bugs and things, but I got there. But yeah, I've now glad I've done that, so I can swap that PS2 out and put my other PS2 in its place. So I've got a sort of permanent Beatmania setup going on, and that also means I've got a chance to finally put that Noctua fan and the 3D printed bits that you did for me in the other one, in the hard drive model.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a project for later. Did play a good solid afternoon of Frostpunk when that was released week or two ago. That's been a really good follow up to the first. I've got a few sort of minor niggles and nitpicks with some of the stuff they've tried to do with it, but generally, yeah, really enjoying that again. And so it's like, yeah, very interesting, kind of a city builder, but a lot of it's more about making the tough decisions between, do you want to like essentially like just kill all the children or make them work down the mines, which will ultimately kill them, but at least you'll get some money out of it, and all sorts of things like this. So that's cool. And then finally, gaming wise, one of my mates had 2 spare analog pockets of varying colours.
How do you manage
Limited
that?
edition
They're like
colours.
hundreds of pounds.
Well, yeah, he's got 4. He had 4 of them after he just bought the new green one. So he decided he was going to sell 2 of them, and sold them to me and another guy at Mates Rates. And he posted that on Saturday, so that should arrive with me early this coming week. So I now have an analog pocket
Very
after
good.
much umming and ahhing about whether I wanted one. And yeah, still, I say even at Mates Rates, still not at all the cheapest thing in the world.
No.
But yeah, should be fun to play. It looks like there's a ton of arcade cores on it now, and all sorts. So, and then there's like management tools for getting it all the latest cores, which also, at least for arcade stuff, will put all the correct ROMs in place and everything on your SD card. It won't do it with console games, but it'll get all the latest console cores and things like that. So that all looks like quite a mature ecosystem now, so that's good. And then films and TV wise, we finished off Buffy and Angel. So naturally, the next logical thing that we've done is moved on to Xena Warrior Princess, which
Oh,
I've
Jesus.
never watched before, and is amazingly cheesy, and yeah, just ridiculous and quite good fun so far. And in the credits there is a Neil James, so
Wow.
I don't think it's the Neil James.
Probably not. Speaking of Xena, though, she was in a show recently, within the last 3 or 4 years. I think it's called Recipe for Murder, and I don't know how it works. Well, I do because I've watched it, but it never really made sense. She cooks food for a cafe a friend owns and solves murders. So
Okay.
that's good. But I did watch the
Okay.
show, if you don't mind, little hour-long mysteries. But again, quite cheesy, but certainly not as cheesy as Xena Warrior Princess. For God's
I know.
sake.
Because that was always on Sky, wasn't it? I think originally,
Don't know.
and then Sci-Fi Channel, I think. So I never watched it at the time.
No, I recall it
thought it
being
might have been
on,
okay.
but never watched it. I thought it was ITV after a while.
Yeah,
Don't know.
possibly. And then film-wise, watched a bunch of old films. Watched The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which is the Nick Cage live-action sort of Disney take on that. Well, obviously Disney had that story wrapped up. That was pretty bad, which we knew going in. We watched both the Short Circuits because Amber didn't think she'd seen the first one, and I don't remember ever really watching the second one. I'd watched the first one shitloads, but we watched them. And that was good fun to watch. Second one doesn't really stand up, I don't think, but the first one's still alright. And watched Beetlejuice, which I never remembered really watching either.
Oh, yeah.
And that was kind
You
of
had never
surprising.
seen it?
I don't know that I can remember. I might have done like really years and years, when it was around, but not sort of within memory. Now I've been meaning to for years, but I hadn't. And the thing that I took away from it was just Michael Keaton. His performance is just like a brilliant performance of a sex pest, and whatnot. Which I sort of I associate him so much with just his portrayal of Batman in obviously the the 89, 90-ish Batman films, and so to have him go from like in my brain just go from Batman to then being like this complete fucking nutcase was just that was quite cool.
Yeah.
And then modern
You know,
film
I
wise,
see why they do randomly call you sex pest in the streets.
Yeah.
I see. I always thought it was something centered around, like some sort of a bizarre, sexual kind of thing. I'm like, Dave's not like that. He's not just like randomly like trying to upskirt some chick in traffic. So, but now that you bring up, all you have to have is a slightly Beetlejuicy feel, and okay, I get it now.
Explains a lot.
Mhm.
Explains everything.
Yeah, and then a modern film that I'll bring up, what we did watch was the other day, Rebel Ridge on Netflix, which is kind of interesting because sort of Amber had got sold on it and told me that it was kind of like, it's kind of like a Black Rambo, but it's not an action film per se. It's more of a thriller, and then like the action sequences is all very sort of measured and very sort of restrained, and yeah, quite interesting how they've. He is essentially like a badass like Rambo, but yeah, they've kind of, rather than just being summer blockbuster over the top action, it's kind of a bit more about the sort of the intrigue and whatnot around it. So yeah, that's kind of good, bit surprising, but yeah, really enjoyed sitting there watching that.
Check WhatsApp.
Yes.
So speaking of Beetlejuice, the Computer Museum yesterday had a stall at a Comic-Con in Wigan. So I went over there for the day.
I know where that's at.
Man in the booth over there for them. So, and there was Comic-Cons are weird. Like, you see some sites at retro game expos, but Comic-Cons are for people who find like game expos way too mainstream. It's like, it's crazy. Some of the people walking around there, like full-on furries walking around and what have you. And there was at least 2 or 3 Beetlejuices. But I mean, some of the costumes they put a lot of time and effort in. They're fantastic. But yeah, a lot of people there with mortgage eyes, one fixed and one variable.
Yeah, the independently operated eyeballs.
Yeah, just a weird scene, but yeah, good event. Not really my kind of event, but obviously I was doing it for...
Dude, mortgage eyes of all the time. So for decades I've been trying to describe this, right? Because there's something about it, and a dear friend of ours that made an appearance in our book. He has that, and like people like that, like they'll walk up to you and they're looking at you, but they're looking over you.
Yeah.
And you know what? For some reason, it happened. Like I know a dude like that I work with, right? He's got the whole thing, and you only pay attention to it. But when you get into a gaming expo, for some reason, it's undeniable.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, there's a higher percentage of this than there should be.
Yeah.
They give everybody a clunk on the head.
No, you just want to tap them on the side of the head. Wait, I'll get that for you. There we go. She's gone again. Now both are doing it. Whoa.
Good luck on the drive home. That was a motherfucker that hits Dave's in-laws.
So I think you finished random, had you?
No, one more thing. I just remembered, gaming-wise. Amber's been playing the new Zelda. I've not had a chance to play it. Well, I probably won't for a while. I'm kind of waiting, leaving a load of Switch stuff as a backlog until the new Switch comes out, and then that can go in the living room. She'll be usually hogging that, and I'll have the old Switch as basically sort of my thing to go through all the old stuff. But I think she's enjoying it, and it looks like I never liked the art style of that and the Link's Awakening remix when I've seen it sort of presented, in Nintendo Directs and things like that. But I actually quite like the look of it in person. And it's kind of not looking like it's going to be as good as Link Between Worlds, or anything. But I think it's going to be kind of interesting in some other ways. Just a bit of a different Zelda game, really.
Yeah. So while you were disconnected, Scott, telling random in the mill where the museum is. There's a tabletop gaming club, and across the corridor a micro pub. But in the gaming club and elsewhere as well, obviously, all over the world. In fact, it has its own wiki page. There's a game people have started playing called Gaslands, which is. I had a look through the rules, watched a video on, how to play it and all that. Not really, doesn't appeal to me hugely, but you basically play with like a Hot Wheels car, and you got to get from like one side of the map to the other. But there's all bits of terrain in the way, and you've got whole rule sets around it, and it's kind of Mad Max post-apocalyptic kind of thing. But people go.
Yeah, I've seen this. Yeah,
people go way overboard modding
Yes.
these Hot Wheels cars.
Yes.
It's that side of it you might be into. I don't know if you'd like the game, but
No, it's Warhammer 40K in Hot Wheels.
yeah.
And my assumption is like a couple of spastics are sitting there playing with Hot Wheels in a pub, and some local, folks walk in and are like, "The fuck's wrong? Oh, we're playing Gaslands. Yeah, it's Mad Max. It's a game. You got some dice, yellow."
Yeah. So, what about your month?
Oh man. So I just sent you guys a WhatsApp of my assistant at the moment, and so you know what's annoying? I tell you what, I've been up to a lot this month, but one of the things that is really annoying is nobody makes a decent wireless keyboard that I could find. This is like $39, right? So I got that and a wireless mouse, right? So with the beast at hand here, keyboards have become a problem, So he's attracted to them, like crackhead to crack. So I can't do anything about it. So I got, when I'm looking for wireless, and you used to be able to get some good stuff, right? And there's just nothing good out there anymore. It's all basically between $29 for garbage to, $40 for stuff that is. It feels light. It feels cheap. It doesn't. I had this great, Corsair gaming, aluminum keyboard that had, it was nice, right? And now I got this little plasticky thing I'm using, but I just can't move the keyboard, the cabled ones fast enough to get out of his way and untangle from him. So I was like, these cords don't work, You got, 30 pounds of cat wrapped up in your your camera cords and your keyboard cords. But so if anybody out there knows of a good quality aluminum wireless keyboard, that would be really cool. And
Aluminium?
Elazar.
Oh.
No, I wasn't having a stroke. Sorry. This guy here, El Alazar, in the chat said, "I paid thousands of pesos for an Apple Magic keyboard and it sucks." Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. This guy in chat here mentions that wireless keyboards are getting flatter. Yeah, I mean, like this one's the only one I could find with any keycap height to it, but they feel silly. It's just most of them are just like laptop keyboards stripped out of a laptop. So, the race to the bottom. But so things I've been doing. I got far enough behind on a couple of vehicle projects. I actually ended up having to take some time and not travel, not do anything, and just catch up on cars. So I had to do rear bumper cover replacement, lower control arm strut, brake calipers, all kinds of stuff on my my Camaro there. And I also, Mike, I put in a bigger supercharger that it's got more power now. You would enjoy that.
Yeah, it didn't have enough before.
I remember I picked up UK Mike from the airport in that car, and he goes, "Ugh, sounds angry." But I got that done. I got a bunch of engine swap stuff closed out on my Humvee. I have my V8 Miata up on the rack right now. And I had to replace all of the rear bushings in the suspension because the because the V8 had just beat the shit out of those rubber bushings. So I'm basically stripping apart the suspension and replacing all the bushings. And since I was like literally sitting there waiting on parts to arrive a couple days, I decided to attack the garage and revamp that. I've never been truly happy with the lighting in there. I mean, I've upgraded it all along, but there's always been just not enough and some dead spots. So I got these big flat spinning lights. These do I have one down? No, they're all upstairs. Anyway, the thing looks like a giant starfish. It's got panels coming out, and it's like 60,000 lumens or so. It's crazy amounts of light. So I got 2 of those installed, and then I put on my garage door. I actually put these like single LED lights. They're like a long bar, if you will. So I put like 8 of those on the actual door with a coiled cord leading to it, so it can follow the track, right? So now when you open it up, the garage door, instead of blocking the light to half the garage, now lights up that part of the garage really well. And I even, like I said, I got the Miata up on the lift, and dude, I was sitting there reading part numbers off of like brake hoses without any additional light. It's like working outside in broad daylight and then some. So couldn't have been happier about that. Gaming wise, I have just been playing Fallout 76. I have just spending a shit ton of time in that game. And, it's a shame. It's actually, they fixed a lot of the problems. I will give them credit for that. One of the most disastrous launches I've seen of a video game in, 50-something years. But the problem that still remains with it is you are absolutely ammo starved until like level 70. I mean, who really needs to spend 9 months playing a game just to no longer be constantly running out of ammo? That's a bit much. But now I'm up to, I think, level like 110 or so, and so my ammo problems are solved. It's a resource game, So I've got like a lead mine at my base. I've got water farms just belting out water, and then you can go and sell that for a shit ton of money. So all in all, I mean, it's going okay, but I got caught up with a couple of people that I play with, and they kind of ran me around and built better weapons and all that. And then another guy jumped in, so I ran him around. I'm like, okay, here's 2,000 rounds of ammunition. Like, because when you're sitting there hoping to get 40 rounds, and you got a problem, and then someone comes up and goes, oh, here's 2,000 rounds. So now I can like go to my ammo box and get like 2,000 rounds of ammunition. Go here, just have it. I get tons. But yeah, it just takes too damn long to get that game up to speed. It really does. So, but yeah, that's it, man. Just wrenching on cars and working on. I got to tell a real quick story about some good guys down the road. Triple R Welding. I've known these guys for 24 years, literally, and they run a great shop. They're in Warrenton, Virginia. They do welding, fabrication, all that kinds of shit. And the ZL1 has these huge, Brembo 6-piston brakes and all. And there's a bleeder valve that you spin out that lets air out of the brakes. It's essential, right? And 3 of these damn things just twisted right off, right? So when that happens, you take a nut, you weld a bead around it. So it does 2 things. One, it welds a nut onto the protruding portion of the bolt screw, or in this case, it's a bleeder screw. It's just hollow down the center, but it's about like a 12 millimeter round screw, and with a hollow center. So the cap just twisted off. So I weld on a new one, and normally that does 2 things. One, it gets you a nut that you can put your wrench on, and then when it heats it up cherry red and then cools, it does this thermal shock that breaks its bond to its surrounding area. And then usually they just back right out after you do that. No, sir, not this time. So I ended up, and of course I had that car up in the air blocking all the other cars. And I was like, fuck it, I'm just taking a bike. Pouring rain, of course it is, you know. So I just, you know, threw the caliper in the side, you know, bag, ran over there. I'm like, Ron, I can't do it, man. Not this one. So, you know, they have to do this. You know, they have much more advanced gear, and, you know, they're pros. That's what they do every day. Man, he was able to drill right down the center of that thing, which I felt like I kind of could have, but not to his degree of precision. And then with zero damage to surrounding threads, extract the shell of what was there. And dude, when he handed it back to me, I literally just took a new screw and just threaded it in by hand. Yeah. So, but here's how it's gaming related. I assure you, it is. They're big. Well, Ron and Rusty are big gamers. You know, and Rusty's got into you know, collecting a lot lately. So, you know, I gave him, you know, we got done. You know, I handed him the calipers. I gave him the calipers. He looks at all that. And he goes, all right, you know, Mom's got a sheet for you. I said, yeah, I filled out you know, a job sheet and all that. And he goes, all right, I'll try and have it ready for you either tomorrow or Monday. I was like, all right, sounds good, man. And, you know, whatever it is, you know. And we're talking, and one of the other guys says to me, oh, yeah, you know, Rusty's still looking for Saturn. Well, I got a spare Saturn, you know, in a box. I was like, hey, Rusty, you looking for a Saturn? He goes, yeah. I said, don't they cost about as much as a screw extraction from a caliper? He goes, yeah, I think they do. So I gave him a copy of the book. I gave him the other copy of CG Adventures. You know, give him a nice little thing for his collection. Oh, and Mike, while we're on the phone, text. The game is on the ground in Vegas and has been there for a while.
Right.
Text me that motherfucker's address again,
right,
so I can get it delivered to him. I literally, well, I'm a victim of my own self in so many ways. I switched over to the phone, and switched over to WhatsApp. Everything came up. I said, okay, I'm good, right? The prior messages, which included his address, were off the fucking screen and did not get transferred. Anyway, text me that, and then I'll make sure that gets out. But anyway, yeah. So I gave him a Sega Saturn in exchange for all the machine work on the calipers. He's happy. I'm happy. And I gave him a copy of the book, and he had not yet, you know, being a gaming collector, he had not heard of the Coleco Chameleon scandal. So I gave him like the 10,000 foot elevator pitch, like, you won't believe this shit, you know. And you realize there's no way to sum that whole thing up. It's just, but wait, there's more.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that sounds good. Yeah, but then he did this.
But then we had to go back and talk about this other shit that happened before. But so I want to give something Spinal. I want to give him credit here. He said just set up a bunch of hanging tangled cables in order to distract the cat. That's why I need any decoy IT stuff.
Yeah, get a fake keyboard.
Well, here we are with the wireless. But now the smug son of a bitch, now that he's done trash and everything, he goes over there to his blanket and curls up and takes a nap.
And in this last month,
that was
Random has been working on his studio, I see.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
This is live news, and I promise we will get to live news. We do have a cut-off point, but we will cover as much news as we can. If we don't get through them all, we'll roll them over. There's not a huge amount, but we do need to just update you on Blackpool, I think. So the plan was, so we've got a booth there. The plan was, obviously, everyone would be there. But work and life have got in the way. I'm sure Scott will tell you about his work. Random isn't able to make it.
That's simple. I had a years-long plan to be there at Blackpool, and you know, per usual. And a great time last year. I wanted nothing more than to be, which I don't think many people have ever said before. I wanted nothing more than to be in Blackpool my weekend. But yeah, it was impossible due to work. So here we are.
Yeah. Random's undecided at the moment, but probably not going to make it there. So I will be in the booth. Little Ben will be in the booth. And the usual hangers on and super fans will be there with us as well. I know Jeff is coming down, Saberman, and Rob and Gareth will be there as well. Simon isn't going either this year.
Oh, then it's not worth it. I don't mind missing it.
He wasn't the other day when I was speaking to him, so he won't be there.
Simon's not there. What's the point?
But
maybe Mike just save the gas money, save the trip. Maybe we'll make it next year.
Yeah.
No
Stu,
Simon, no party. That's my rule.
Yeah. Stu, who we met at Revival last time with the Dam Busters cab, he will be there. I don't think he's taking the cab this time. I might be wrong on that, but I don't think he is. But he will be there as well. So we'll get out. We'll have a good expo. We'll have a few beers. We'll have some curry, and a good time will be had by all. Oh, and also AD isn't able to make it either. He's working on a new album. So,
Ooh.
although I look forward to it, I'd rather have him in Cambridge.
Yeah,
in
he can play
Cambridge.
some of
I'd
the
rather have him in
fun
Blackpool.
I'd rather have them in Cambridge too. Let's face it.
Yeah. Stay in Cambridge.
So my internet connection seems to be stable. You know what? I have
and your camera
fiber
resolution
modems.
looks better as well.
Yeah. Well, I have the modems through Comcast. It's our local provider there, and Mike, I live like not exactly in an urban area. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And sometimes if we get bad weather, I know it's fiber, but some of their connections and all, I don't know. We get bouncing of the connections. So Starlink, I normally don't have that engaged because of the lag, and it's not terrible. We're using it right now. It's almost indistinguishable from regular internet, but I keep it sort of idling, but not on the network. So I just had to switch over to that real quick, and then I'm looking at the modem, the system monitor, and the other modem's like that. So.
So what? I was going to say, So you're seeing a few more Starlinks over here now, like a lot of campers on some of the caravan parks we go on now. People will have a Starlink, just stuck in the ground next to the van or whatever, on top of the camper or whatever. What sort of speeds do you get through it?
100 to 115.
Down, and is it the same up or is it slower up?
It's slower up. Honestly, I've never. I could go into the network hub and look. I've never paid attention to the upload performance. Because what am I really doing?
Yeah.
So I do notice though, like whenever I do switch over to Starlink, which is maybe once a month or so, but whenever I do switch over to that, like I look at like my downloads and they're like doing like that, and then I go from the fibers, which is 2 gigabit, over to Starlink. And all of a sudden, I notice hey, my downloads are frozen. No, it's just we're on a smaller pipeline. But I can't be dissatisfied with it. If you were out in the wild and you say to yourself, "Hey, I want to download the latest episode of Hammond's Garage," right? Are you watching that at the smallest cog?
I watched season 1. I haven't gone back to it since. I may do, but
it is just the British version of every American car show ever. And, over here we call them we're going to lose the shop shows.
Yeah. And
it's always, we got this job in. It's got to be ready for the customer by this arbitrary deadline. We're going to lose the shop.
Yeah. That's what kind of put me off it.
Yeah, but for me, like when I see those shows, like I can't stand it, But especially the thing that bugs me the most about those shows is they make 6 months of fabrication effort and customization to do something look like a 6-hour job. And that bugs the shit out of me. So I just don't really like them. But the thing that and non-car people are always like, "Hey, do you like that show Monster Super Garage?" I'm like, "No, the fuck I don't." "Oh, they work on cars like you do." I'm like, "No, they don't." But
imagine a TV show of Scott working in his garage. I'm like, what's this motherfucker doing? And why is it taking him 3 months?
Yeah, it's like he pulled his heat exchanger off the intake valley and saw that the ends were were starting to fail. So he went on the website, ordered a new one. It'll be here in, no, not 7 minutes. It'll be here in 7 days. And then he can resume work. I mean, it is just, it's awful. But the thing I do like about watching the Hammond's workshop and all is the cars are different. I mean, how many 64 Impalas can I really watch get a full custom interior so we don't lose the shop? But, you know, I can't, you know. But, oh, dude, they had some, they just have different cars, you know. And you get to see some of the Hammond stable, you know, some of the cars he breaks out. And I think, though, part of the, you know, like when they're hamming it up for the we're going to lose the shop bit, he's talking about how, oh, this is going to run into a lot more money than I thought. Oh, I hope I have the funds for this. Bite my knuckle. I hope I have the funds. And, you know, the guy's a multi-millionaire. And they kind of make it out like he's just barely able to swing open in this garage. He's like, oh, 60,000 pounds. Oh, I better call the wife. Oh, speaking of the wife. Awful. Is this woman not the most hateable shrew ever? I mean, she's shrill, she's incessant, she's nut cutting. I mean, Hammond, like literally, like she beats him down like a unruly child on the show. It's like
I don't think she was in it in
Hammond.
the first season.
I want to watch him keep his pimp hand strong. I want to say that episode. Oh, well, yeah, I think we've all heard enough of what you have to say.
So in season 1 of that show, I remember there was a car. I think it was a Land Rover. This, you know, Lord, whoever, Little Lord Fauntleroy or whatever, had given him like
the old guy,
a Land Rover
to attend to my garden cart.
Yeah, a Land Rover to you know refurbish just so that he could sort of gauge the quality of work that they were doing and what have you.
Yep.
And then he gave him, I think it was a Bugatti or something he wanted him to do. He said, well, this is a very rare Bugatti. You know, there's only 3 of them ever made, and one you're going to fix up for me. One of them was destroyed in a crash. Opens a garage, and here's the other one.
Yeah, that episode, that tall guy, he speaks like he's been given money simply to have money and to demonstrate how to behave when one has money.
Yeah.
And he likes saying money quite a bit.
A couple of weeks ago, maybe slightly longer, 3 weeks, I think, it was Goodwood Revival, and they stream that whole thing live on YouTube all weekend, and they repeat it the weekend after, but you can go back and watch the videos now. But, like, some of the races they have there are just crazy, like... They had literally, like, I think they called it like the £22 million race or something. It was like Aston Martins in it, AC Cobras, E-Type Jags, all sorts of just uber rare cars.
Everything.
And but they're thrashing them around this circuit. And they're professional drivers, you know, they're showing the machinery the respect it deserves so it doesn't fall apart after 3 laps of being thrashed. And, you know, they give each other enough space most of the time. But they are racing these things really hard. It's just a fantastic sight to
see. I want to go over there for the Festival of Speed at some point.
Yeah, that was a couple months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta pick Blackpool over that, but said no human ever.
Yeah, yeah.
But the stuff I want to see there is that really rare stuff, like one of Millard's V8 Nortons or the Beast of Turin. You ever seen that thing?
Yeah.
God, what is it, like 27-liter 4-cylinder?
It's stupid.
The pistons are like... I remember Clarkson describing it. Because they're showing a side view of the exhaust ports, and the exhaust ports are like the size of a brick. They're huge, you know. Like, imagine the exhaust ports are like 2 smartphones side by side, right? And you just see the flames pouring out, and he's like, it's like looking into the gates of hell.
Yeah. All right, maybe we can hit some news then.
We can start some news. I got one right here. A Route 66 pinball table done in the 1970s style. Looks like it's electrical only. It's
Virtual.
digital only, virtual. Thank you, virtual. That's the word I'm looking for. But it kind of reminds me a little bit of pro football, but also maybe Sonic Super Straight a little. I like the layout.
It's got the kind of NBA / PGA, like that blue and red kind of clean cuts.
Kind of like Spirit of
to it.
76. Those sorts of colours as well, and almost that theme.
Yeah, but it does look like the center part would be an LCD that would maybe run stuff. That would be kind of neat. A resto mod, doing something like exactly like this Route 66, but then having a digital feature in the center, with the screen there. So
Yeah.
anyway, looks pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Sent in by Burrito Damas, who says, "Thank you for all you do." Well, thank you for sending that in. And thank you, Gareth Hamer, for sending this in. The Zebo lives, he says. The Zebo was it Brazilian, I think it was? A console.
That sounds right.
Yeah. But I think it was online only, wasn't it? Brazil and Mexico, 2009. Yeah, the very first digital-only video game console. And the only reason I know that, not having read this story, was reading Craig Turner's Game Not Over book. He covers the Zebo in there. And this article goes on to say there is finally an emulator for this thing for one of the worst consoles ever made. So emulator developers were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they never stopped to think if they should. So you can go out and emulate the Zebo games. I wonder where they got them, if they were online only. Is that someone rewritten them, or has someone got a server somewhere? I don't know.
Someone found a Brazilian dumpster with a 486 in it and was like, "Oh, I'll have this computer. Oh, what are all these games?"
Yeah.
They look like cell phone games, kind of. I was just packing through, like looking through the videos, like the family pack, and they kind of
Like
look like
Amico
cell phone
games.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Amico games if they ever were made. I wonder. I mean, we know where the server is. We know the principals of the company have sold their homes, have been in all sorts of shenanigans. Is Phil Adams still sitting in a corner of his house somewhere with the Amico sign before him, just waiting for the opportunities to roll in?
Waiting for his comeback.
Any minute now. I let everybody know the project's still a go, but I got Tetris for you. Come on, guys.
Oh dear. I've got one from Gareth Hamer that I thought was maybe a bit given how YouTube likes to destroy video with compression and audio. I thought might be a little bit suspect, but it's which is C64 game loaded over YouTube, because I was assuming that it might be plug a sound. The sound from YouTube into the thing, and you're just sending games over YouTube. But to get around any of that bullshit compression business, they've actually gone quite a bit further. And so what they've done is they've done videos and done it as like an interactive show, and it's got part of the video just got a flashing symbol in the bottom of it, and there's a piece of hardware that basically picks up this flashing and just interprets it as a serial data and sends that to the C64 to load. So while you're watching them talk about this program, your C64 is downloading it in the background, and then you get to play it. So it's actually quite a cool little idea.
Jelly load.
Project.
There was a Microsoft watch that was out in the mid '90s, and what they did is it had a sensor on the front of the monitor, and you would you would have this application, and you put in like your dates and your times for your alarms and all that, and then maybe addresses, numbers, whatever it's been so long, it's 30 years since I had this thing, but then you would click upload, and it would flash the screen to get your, to put the information into the watch serially. So, yeah, I mean, flashing screens have been done to load data before, but, I would have maybe just, I don't know, just tried it, like putting it on Rumble or something and seeing, but, yeah, that compression and the shifts in the tones and all would be a thing, wouldn't it? So
Yeah.
that is a beautiful job of solving a problem with hardware. I'll tell you another beautiful job of solving a problem with hardware was sent in by Ryan Toole. Random hacker turns $5 Paw Patrol toy into a cool way to play Sega's Super. Hang on. One of the greatest games. A game that is still has a slot in my arcade reserve for it. Should I ever find one in good shape. But he's got like this little child's simulated car with the 2 mirrors and different buttons and a steering wheel. And he's got it set up as a controller for his emulator. So he's playing Sega's Great Super Scalar Racer using a Paw Patrol. I got kind of the opposite. 20-ish years ago, Radio Shack, when they were still in business, had a Hummer steering wheel game. It was literally just a steering wheel you did this with, right? And it had this like Hummer on the screen jumping. But it was a Commodore game, and it was developed on the Commodore 64 on a chip. And you can actually like extract the board and build a full Commodore 64 with a floppy and everything out of the wreckage. So I did. It's in a box somewhere.
So there was in the museum, we like to keep things, as original as possible, but we do also have some machines where, rather than loading games from a cassette, we'll be using like a modern tape Duino or something like that to load from an SD card, using an interface that pretends to be a tape. But we've got one computer in there called a New Brain, and there's a guy been working on it for ages trying to get it to load software, and he's like, it started to load the software, I can see it, loading, I can hear it loading, and then it just stops. And the reason being, he found out, was if you had it hooked up to a tape or something like that, it would load a chunk of software, and then it would need time to process what it's loaded. Then it would say, right, I'm ready for the next section, and then the tape would start up again. But he was like trying to load it from a laptop, playing, the audio or something through a headphone socket.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously he wasn't stopping the audio. He was just letting it roll, and the New Brain's like, nah, give me some time. So he finally figured it out that you need to stop the loading process after a chunk of data.
Huh. Yeah, I've never messed with. Well, I got a PDP that kind of did that. You couldn't overrun its load speed, and it would have queues. I think that was on an air. Oh, that was on an air column tape drive. I gotta pull this thing out someday and show it to you. It's got 2 reels, right? Like you see in the movies.
Yeah.
And then it has this vacuum column, right? And it pulls air through that column, and the tape floats down that column, and it keeps tape tension by having about a 6-foot loop of tape inside this. Clear tube. It's freaking awesome. Nightmare to load software from. Truly is.
Yeah.
So, got one here from David Gyrich, The Last Ninja Collection. So, The Last Ninja Collection has come to PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC. And it's got apparently The Last Ninja, Last Ninja 2, Last Ninja 3, Last Ninja Remix, International Karate, IK2, Bangkok Nights. But what it doesn't seem to have in Last Ninja is a great piece of Classic Gaming Expo history, which I'll bring up because it is the 10th anniversary of the greatest year of Classic Gaming Expo, isn't it, Mike?
Yes, it is indeed.
It is. So, 2007, I picked up The Last Ninja, and it was autographed right there. And manual, all nicely done. Let's see here. It's actually a pretty good looking manual. It's, and then of course the cartridge. So this one, the kid did, there's some sort of design contest or something, as I recall. And we interviewed him. Anyway, he won the contest, as I recall, and made, I think, 35 copies of the game, as many people have over the years, and that's it. So not too many of The Last Ninja for the Atari 2600 floating out there in the wild. So it was I truly miss that experience about Classic Gaming Expo, man. That was something that had nailed down in the old days, man, where, you'd be out on the floor at like Saturday at like 11 a.m. and, all of a sudden the lights would go down for a sec and you'd hear, usually like John Hardy, attention CGE, attention CGE. In 5 minutes, we'll be selling copies of The Last Ninja at the table by the, and you'd go over there, and if you weren't in the line, you didn't get that piece of gaming history. And I gotta tell you, man, I picked up so many games there that otherwise wouldn't have had. So, yeah, miss those good old days.
Yeah, people would wait for that event to launch the game. Whenever it was ready, they'd wait for the next CG and launch it there. One from David Gyrick, another pinball-related one, X-Men Pinball. The Uncanny X-Men. It is a trailer. You can watch it on YouTube. It's a very bright, brash and purple-looking pinball machine. I have no affinity with the X-Men personally. I don't think I've ever watched an X-Men film.
It is very purple.
It is, isn't it?
And very visually busy. Yeah, it's kind of hard to pass a lot of what's actually on the playfield, I think.
And the thing with those is you never know which table you're going to get. Is it the LE? Is it the the premium, whatever they call them? Which one is it?
Yeah.
My machine's got half the shit missing.
Well, I tell you what, somebody here had way too much time on their hands. And one of our very own here, Lord Neil, and he says, not sure who will find this interesting. Well, I find it fairly interesting, but I had a daft idea. No disputing that. I tried it out. You certainly did. So what he did, it says, the title says Star Wars subtitles. So I thought maybe he did like a Rift Tracks thing or something that you hit play. I don't know. So what he did is Star Wars made entirely in subtitles. Now, he says here he used ASCIIanimation.co.nz, I guess that's New Zealand. And I guess you feed in video and it gives you ASCII out. But in the simply the text combinations, he did Star Wars. It's kind of funny watching like R2-D2 having the conversation with C-3PO. Who is she? Oh, she sent a message.
Yeah, it's quite cool. I remember there was a Telnet address you could dial into, and it would give you an ASCII.
Yeah, that still works, by the way. I've got a batch file you can launch, and it still works. See if I can find it. But speaking of Star Wars, at the Comic-Con yesterday, they had, and I've never seen it before. The game Operation, where you're going in with the metal tools.
Yeah.
They had a Star Wars theme one, and you're operating on R2-D2, pulling out all these different components. It was battered to fuck, so I left it there. But never seen a themed version of Operation. It would have been cool if it was in better condition.
Yeah, it's a shame. That sounds like a really good use of the both IPs.
Yeah.
I never knew they do custom versions of it, like they do with Monopoly. You can't go anywhere without Monopoly, for every locality. But got one here from Gareth Kamer, and it's really, really cool. So he's got a video here that he found of Doom being played on a volumetric display. So that's something I have yet to play with, is the volumetric displays. I've seen various ones. And there's all kinds of gadgets, like you can build a little 1x1 cube, or a bigger one or whatever. It looks like something like if kind of like the 3D chess in Star Wars or whatever, or Holo chess or whatever. It looks like the kind of thing they would have done in the 70s to depict something in the future. So, I think they're going to get better though. But right now you're going to spend $6,000 to do an effect that looks like somebody trying to show what something might look like. And then I would bet in 5 years you'll get this on Amazon for $20, and it does amazing things. So
Uh-huh.
you guys,
oh,
do you
what?
guys remember the Pixel LEDs for holiday lights?
Yeah. There was a brand name for it. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, they were super expensive, and it was maybe about 10, 12 years ago, and you get like a pole, and you get maybe these like 40 RGB strings that come down, right? And you could like send images up it. You could do animations, all kinds of stuff, right? And I think it was literally like thousands, like $3,000-$4,000 to get this done. And I was on Amazon the other day when I was buying all those LED lights for the garage and everything. And damn it, they actually had like the RGB LED things, and they were like $33 for what would have been $3,000 like 10 years ago. So, all right.
Nice. Got one from David Gyrick again. He sent quite a lot in at the start of the month, it seems. This was a game called The Last Job that was in development by Acclaim Studios Cheltenham, and got cancelled about 40% of the way through, and it is now surfaced online. It was a game where you were a crew doing heists and had to basically avoid various SWAT teams and police and security guards and whatnot. Sounded like it was pretty ambitious, which is possibly why it never really got too far. And certainly, I mean, it sounds like the kind of thing that Payday and Grand Theft Auto 5, kind of ended up going down the route, which, you certainly wouldn't expect to see those particularly well executed on the PlayStation 2 era hardware. So that is now available if anyone wants to check that out, which I might do.
I got one here I saw this video a few weeks ago, and I didn't think like to submit it to the show. It didn't, really. But now I go back and I look at it. I'm like, damn, that is genius. So Lord Neal submitted this, and somebody took an IC that designs, that is designed to play Simon, the game, right? And he decides to put the whole game in the IC. So what he does is he chucks up this IC, and it looks like he put some protective something around the leg so they can get snapped off. Anyway, he chucks up this IC in a mill, and he uses I think it's maybe a 4-flute end mill, very small one, like maybe a 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch tops. And he machines away, because when they make an IC, they have like a little flat bed that's got the wires, the leads coming up from the pins, and then it goes up to a little series of pads that the machine runs the wires from that over to the pads on the actual silicon wafer that's, the little chip that's glued onto this thing. And then epoxy is put over the top, and then you've got this sealed package, right? So what he did is he very slowly and very carefully machined away a lot of the epoxy. So he left a strip around the edges, kind of like a coffin, right? And then he machined down any of the unnecessary black. Now, what he doesn't show is him doing an X-ray scan first, which I'm kind of certain he did to get these dimensions. Because even going super slow, by the time you see that gold, you've probably cut into it. So he did a beautiful job of decapping this thing. So front and bottom, he takes away any of the black epoxy that doesn't need to be there. And then he gets a bunch of really tiny surface mount LEDs, and he, gets them arrayed in a grid, solders everything in there so that he can play Simon on a single chip. It's even got the little buttons. So it's got basically 4 LEDs and then 4 buttons, right? So these are those tiny little buttons like they put on a PCB for an external plastic button to press, Anyway, it's it all fits below the surface level of the IC. So tremendous soldering work, beautiful craftsmanship there, and good machining. So I got to hand it to him.
Yeah. Random sent one in. I don't think you did this one yet. The Rubber Keyed Wonder is a new film that charts the development of the ZX Spectrum, and it is by the Caulfields, who brought you From Bedrooms to Billions, as well as several other films on the Amiga, the PlayStation, and all of that stuff. It should be out. I'm not sure where it's available, but it has premiered, so it should be out and about. If not already, then very soon.
Mm-hmm. I also sent another one in shortly after, or a couple of days later. This was the news that someone had found a new cheat code for Doom, specifically the Sega Saturn version, 27 years after its launch. And the cheat code doesn't make you invincible or anything, give you any kind of extra weapons. It makes the walls in the game semi-transparent, which, as those of you who may know Saturn hardware, it doesn't really do proper transparencies either. So then, kind of that checkerboard cheated effect, and I don't know how practical it is or particularly useful, but there you go. Someone found it. It only took them a few decades.
So, another pinball-related one here. And who sent this in? It was sent in, by little old me. And it is a new Jersey Jack pinball, and it is based around Avatar, the Battle for Pandora, which I'm guessing is the second film, which I've still not seen. I don't know if do I need to see the second film?
No, number 2 is Way of the Water. So it's basically Avatar 1, but underwater.
Okay.
It ain't bad. I mean, so they upped a lot of they kind of just upped a lot of what they did in the first Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
If you thought the first Avatar was the most amazing film ever, you'll probably feel that way about this one. If you thought it was just an okay tech demo, you'll probably think the same. If you didn't like the first one, I can't think of any reason for you to like this one.
I thought the premise behind the first one was good. It was overly long and a retelling of Pocahontas with cool tech.
Yeah, Pocahontas, Fern Gully, whatever, of course. But this is no different. Basically, the humans come back to Pandora, but with more ships and all that. They got the cloning thing where they're bringing back some of the people from the first one that got killed. It's like I said, dude, throw it up on Plex, sit down, give it a watch on a Sunday afternoon. You probably won't feel like you had your time stolen.
Yeah. Spinal says he didn't like Avatar for being sciencey. Sci-fi, they bollocksed up something huge in my opinion.
Fair enough. Got one here again from David Gyrick. If you've ever played or seen the PS2 Mega Man X8 game and wish it was in a more classic 2D style, you're in luck because someone has painstakingly ported the PS2 original with SNES-style graphics. This is the announcement that version 1.0 is finally here, and you can finally play it all from start to finish with X. As I presume there's multiple characters, that means somewhere along the lines. So yeah, there you go. I'd quite like to see X7 because I remember sort of trying to play that and not sort of getting on too well with the sort of 2.5D presentation. And so if someone did a real 2D version of that, that'd be quite cool.
So I got one here from Alan Hegedus, and he says, "Hi RGR team, just finished the latest episode. Now I gotta kind of read this because I want you guys to listen to this because I'm trying to understand exactly what it's doing.
I can
here,
tell you
okay?
the origin of it.
All right then.
Last month.
Let me read it real quick. It's 2 sentences long, and then you can give
Go on,
clarity. Okay. Don't laugh, but last winter I took down our 27-inch CRT TV with a first-generation Roku TV. So if you just read this as written, okay, don't laugh, okay, but last winter, okay, 1 year ago, I took down our 27-inch CRT with a first-gen Roku TV. That means to imply he's got that Roku. He's beating the shit out of that 27. All right. It has RGB cables. What's it? So I could turn my Toshiba TV
The
into a smart
Roku.
TV. All right. So I have yet to
Presumably.
see. Maybe they exist.
I told you I
But-
should have explained it first.
Well, no. This is
'Cause I know
why
the
your
end goal of what he's
explanation is gonna
achieving.
be so much better. But what I'm hoping I'll get out of this, Mike, the reason why I'm bringing up this first, what I'm hoping I'll get out of this is that there is such a thing. So, any smart TV I've owned, and I'm looking at this point, I think I'm one of them. This LG here actually popped up with what I call post-purchase renegotiation of terms. And yes, I have altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. So, like, you paid money for this fucking TV, right? And yes, I know buried on page 4 of the EULA is a thing saying we can change this any time. But it pops up with a thing saying, hey, accept our new terms and conditions, and we're doing this, this, and this, and this, or don't. And then your TV doesn't work. That shit's been going on with Roku big time. But anyway, I'm looking at just buying panels now and setting them in raw mode and just running a Pi with, stuff or whatever. So anyway, I think smart TVs and I are going to have to part company here. They're just getting too presumptuous of our relationship. But the thing, though, is that any smart TV I've ever owned or seen might have ARC, which is, the digital audio out, but none of them have a way to export video. And a lot of times I thought, man, if I could export that video into my HDMI distro system and then push it all over, that'd be great. But, so am I misreading this, or does this Roku have video out on a smart TV?
So it's not. No. So what he's got is a little Roku box, an old Roku box, which is they used RGB out because it's pre-HDMI. And he's hooking it up to an old CRT TV, so he can have a
Alright,
CRT
so, like,
smart TV.
I got one. I got one here. It's a where the hell is it? Somewhere around here. But it's a one of those generic Android streaming boxes that they
Yeah.
sell,
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean,
They
okay,
tend
so
to be
basically just-
HDMI though.
Yeah, so there are some decent HDMI to whatever standard converters out there. So
So the origins
The
of
problem-
this story was Random wanted to make a CRT smart TV,
Yeah,
and I think that's what Alan's doing, but using a Roku.
yeah, and I think the main obstacle for me is that a lot of them, if you're just putting, an HDMI converter to composite or whatever on the end, they all want to be natively 16:9, and I want a 4:3 screen, and preferably 480p to go to 480i. So yeah.
So this little sucker I've got here
Mhm.
does it by a hard switch.
Yeah, I've got one
So-
of those for consoles. But I
And
think
when I
the
flip
one
the
I've
switch,
got
it-
only doesn't switch 4:3 to 16:9. It only does 720 or 1080. The one I've got.
I think that's what mine does here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But funny enough, it seems to follow the aspect ratio though.
Right. Okay.
But none of that's in documentation. It's just some shit I borrowed.
Yeah.
Oh, my documentation said was, "Do not eat battery. Do not leave cold."
Well, at least you got that, sir.
Do not wash.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
had the battery shits for a week.
Why you no listen?
Yeah, I thought I was going to get there with a PS3 because that's got they've got really good 4:3 RGB output, but the media playback on them, which at the time was like really, really well, supported. All the great formats that you have these days, it just doesn't anymore. And then all of the smart TV, smart apps on it are all broken. Like none of the video streaming
Random
works.
Spinal makes a good point. There's probably a couple different ways to do this. I have got a first gen, I think, Pi, and it's got regular video out.
You've got composite, and I've got an RGB Pi, but you can't then easily get a lot of the content that I'd want from, I want it to be not just for me going, right, well, I can play all of my pirated shit. It's gonna be like in a guest bedroom, and so it's like, all right, I'd like them to be able to just be like, oh, I want to watch Netflix, YouTube, whatever they want to watch on this.
Oh, have I got a project for you then? All right, you ready to spend some money? You know what?
That's the problem.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to do this, man. You're gonna have to maybe wear out that pair of hiking shoes a little bit longer, dude. So they make modulators, right? That convert raw video into video, like RF. So channel 3, So the off-the-shelf ones are generally 3 or 4, so you can do 2 channels, right? The commercial ones that they use in cable companies are now utterly valueless. They're like, you can go on eBay for like $25. You can buy a broadcast-grade modulator, right? So this guy, he's got a video on YouTube. I'll find it here this evening and send it to you. Really freaking cool, man. So what he did is he got like a rack of these modulators, like 14 of them, right? And he's got them all stacked up. Then he's got Pis on a board, so like everything's visual with all the cables neatly managed and all that. And so each one's on a different channel. Then he puts them all into a summing amplifier and then runs that on a cable network throughout his house. So all he has to do is he puts down a like a remote, right? And so your guest could pick it up, and as they go through the channels on the TV, they encounter your different Pi channels. So you could have one playing like all Alf, another one playing all A-Team, another one playing whatever the hell you want, and there it is, and each channel has a different video. But you figure the cost of a Pi plus an exciter is maybe, $65, $70 US. So you figure it's $70 per channel times 10 channels, $700. So, right around 1,000, you're getting like a 15 channel, setup. But a lot of effort to build a private cable TV channel.
Certainly a step up from what I used to do when I had a FM transmitter plugged into the back of my PC, and in early live news, because it used to coincide with when I'd go and walk to the chip shop at the end of the street and get my chips. I basically set myself up a pirate FM radio station of Retro Gaming Roundup live news, and I'd just take a radio with me to listen to it as I was going to get my fish and chips.
I wonder how many locals, the odds of like actually tuning the channel at the same time and all is fairly minimal. But you gotta wonder if anybody's like, oh, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Benjamin Martin in chat says, I started working for a local broadcast news station in Columbus, Ohio. They eat the dogs, they eat the cats. I am a cameraman / editor / photojournalist and was able to nab a couple of BVMs. First question, I know what a BM is, but what's a BVM?
Broadcast video monitor.
Okay.
It's the Sony, the really professional Sony.
Oh, nice. Right.
I used to have some of those, man. 13-inch Trinitron, right? They were like that big, and it's what they used in, like when you went to like a cable company and they would have a monitor of each channel so they could see the video performance and make sure it was working and all. Also, like if you went to like a news production room, they'd have like stacks of these monitors showing the different feeds and different video and all that. Really, really slick stuff. But I would, I had one of these things I picked up somewhere in Germany, and because it could run PAL and NTSC and everything else, that became my primary monitor for my Sky TV receiver, so I could see what was on Sky TV whilst watching other things on the secondary monitor. But I also used it hooked up to my Sega Genesis a lot because I got to tell you, Sonic on a 13-inch Trinitron looks better than Sonic on I think I had like a 27-inch RCA TV at the time, and it looked better on the Sony Trinitron broadcast one. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
looked
hang
amazing.
on to those suckers. I wish I still had mine. Oh, got one here for you from Mike James. Fake video game ring worth 50 million pounds or euros smashed in Italy. We know anybody taking a European vacation right now? I'm just wondering. And it says here more than 47 million pirate copies of a game, including Mario Brothers and Street Fighter 2, were seized in raids across Italy. So in a daring pre-dawn raid, police ignored, I don't know, 10 million migrants in the country running amok, and went and raided a couple of nerds with illegal cartridges.
Yeah, the numbers don't really add up, but they've obviously smashed a big video game ring. They're saying, oh, it's worth 50 million euros. Then they say they got 47 million pirated copies of games. Well, I'm sure you can't buy a pirated copy of Mario Brothers or Street Fighter 2 for €1. So, plus there was consoles in as well. I'm sure there was modded consoles, pirate consoles, and a lot of minis and stuff that weren't genuine. So I'm not sure on the numbers, but they've smashed a video game ring.
Smashed an Italian ring.
We busted the Sonic ring, boys.
Yeah. Woohoo. Put that in the headline.
Sonic ring. I just show a hedgehog with all these rings laying around looking all dejected.
Got a fun one that I sent in. This is a violent racing simulator turns force feed back up to 11 with an ejection seat. And this was a guy. It's definitely, I think possibly Chinese, who put out a video of basically a drift cockpit that he'd made, which actually will spin round 360 on the floor to simulate the drifting as he's playing, racing sims. But then it's also got lots of actuators in the seats and things like that to give you usual, you've got the kicker seats which shove you when you change gear and things like that, or crash into a wall. But he's sort of amped it up a bit so that it could actually eject you from the seat in a big crash and things like that. And yeah, it looks very, very vomit inducing, but kind of something that would be incredibly fun to play at an expo or something. But yeah, if you get sick playing some of the Sega motion cabinets, then this is not going to be for you. Pretty mental. Though.
Got one here from Dave Lanky, and it says a rare PS2 horror game price collapses after the discovery of a sealed shipment. This has happened before. I remember when this happened with, I think it was Air Raiders or whatever, and the rarity of some items suddenly comes into question when a box of them is found. So this game here, Rule of Rose, it was a horror game, got banned, and I guess they found a box of 1,000 copies. So there goes that market.
So, someone found a garage full of retro magazine. And that shit sure did plummet in value.
Into minus.
But you had some fat silverfish and what's that other bug that likes to eat books?
Mold.
Yeah, the silverfish and yeah. Oh, look at my mold collection. David Gyrich, make your own retro game. Been there, done that.
Oh, I got to play
here it is.
Nintendo World Championship cartridge yesterday. Not an original one. One of the AliExpress ones. Obviously a copy of Nintendo World Championships, but they had a high score competition at the Comic-Con with it. So I had a go in it for the first time. It's pretty interesting, you know. You got to get 50 coins on Mario, then do a circuit on Rad Racer, and then play Tetris till the 5 minutes is up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not seen one before. But yeah, it was good.
I did the Star Fox one back in the day.
You did what?
And before that came out, the Star Fox competition weekend back in the day, when that came out. That was quite fun.
You guys have seen the Wii keychain, right?
The Kawaii or whatever it's
Yeah.
called.
Oh yeah.
Cool without a fan.
Yeah.
Well, it is. It's got an aluminum heat spreader, so I actually kind of want to get one of those. It's just a cool thing. But anyway, the people behind Nat have done a model. I guess it's going to enable them to do a maybe a similar version for the Sony SNES PlayStation. So the SNES PlayStation, of which there was like one known to exist. I think maybe one of the prototypes, sold for like $360,000. So, yeah, I guess one of those will be available, sort of, is the best way to put it. But yeah, I'm thinking about doing one of those kawaii things. It's just freaking cool.
Yeah.
Anybody see this dude that just arrived here?
Yeah. Pirate
So
cat.
if you see anything, I did not have time to retrieve my keyboard. So if you see anything like that happen and the connection drops, it's because he's jacked it up. This dude, man, he can find settings. Like, he managed to disable. He got on my cell phone and was just, doing that. Managed to disable emojis in the keyboard. No idea how he did it. Yeah.
He's probably trying to save humanity one phone at a time.
Yeah.
We'll just turn this unnecessary problem starter off.
He'll thank me for it one day.
Oh, he actually disabled, the minimize, maximize, and close buttons in Windows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the way those are laid out with Wayland, this desktop Windows manager in Fedora, those are actually not present initially. You have to add them into a mod because nobody wants to use those. That's why I fucking hate about some asshole developer who's like, I have the best idea ever. I'm going to force everybody to go along with it. Let's just turn off this feature that everybody but me uses, We'll put it in the Emacs editor instead,
Yeah.
But so he trampled the keyboard and somehow removed the ability to install or remove the minimize, maximize, and close buttons. I ended up just having to reinstall the OS. I went through which fortunately is not a big problem because everything's external. It just takes me, 15 minutes to load a new OS and go back to operation. But still, I had to do that because he wiped out that. So.
Yeah, it's amazing now how quick you can load a new OS. Unbelievable.
So, got one here from Peter Gibbs about Top Spectrum Games, and he says they've only chosen one of ours that we chose. So, let's see here. All right. They go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, though. Okay. So, top 5 Spectrum Games. So, they picked one of ours from our top 10. All right. So, they picked Renegade, School Days, The Great Escape, The Hobbit, and Manic Miner. Manic Miner box art is weirder than I remember. It looks like a telephone on a bad mushroom trip.
Yeah. So,
But man, The Hobbit, what a great game on that computer.
the only thing with The Hobbit was things happened in real time elsewhere in the world and could make the game uncompletable through no fault of yours, because someone might have died off elsewhere and you need to speak to them to complete the game. So just to remind everyone, our top 10 was, starting from 10, Ant Attack, Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge, Dalek Attack, School Days, Smash TV, Where Time Stood Still, Attic Attack, Jetpack, Jet Set Willy, and Night Law.
So, one thing that, for those of you that bought the Atari at 50 compilation, absolutely beautiful. Just a wonderful, wonderful piece of software. They updated it. And I saw that the other day. It popped up and it said, now adding, I don't remember all the games, but it seems like it's a decent update. And you know what? It's been about a year since I went through that. And I took just a nice evening. I didn't have anything else going on. I watched all the videos and played all the games. It takes you a couple hours to go through the history of Atari on there. If you don't have the 50th anniversary, get it. It's beautiful. But again, they have an update. So I think maybe this winter when I've got, a dead evening, I'll sit there and go through it again. So that said, David Gyrich sent one in that there is a PlayStation 30th anniversary collection. And it says here they're going to debut the PlayStation 30th anniversary collection. Okay,
So it's
is it a
they did it with the PS4. They did a grey PS4 for the 20th.
yeah?
So essentially it's a PS5 that's grey and
With-
like controllers
yeah.
and accessories. A USB cable with like a piece of plastic on it that looks like the PS1's joypad cable.
I just don't see
It
like
does look nice in the grey, and there's some nice touches, but it's certainly not worth the premium that it ended up being. And they all sold out incredibly quickly because they made about 10,000 of them for the world.
Wow.
So
yeah, I just don't. That wouldn't inspire me to like. Okay, I need one of those. So you said you won't buy a PS5 right now. I think this is your best opportunity to not buy one.
yeah. Well,
I'm going to
especially
not
when
buy one
Sonic-
tomorrow.
just to be a complete cunt to some of my mates. I got in the queue when they went up for sale the plan was to get the PS5 Pro bundle, which was a PS5 Pro, the Edge DualSense controller, a charging dock, and some other crap, and it was like 999 quid. And it's just like, no fucking way. And so many people just saw that price and just bailed, which is not surprising.
Is that shit still going on?
Well, the thing was as well is like a couple of hours later, someone in our chat then sent a screenshot from eBay where people had already put them up on eBay for $5,500.
Jesus.
Well, that could be you.
Yeah.
Like fucking hell.
One here
Hey.
from Peter Gibbs, and he calls it mountainous. Not really retro. This just seemed like the most random topic. As much as I like the word mountainous, and I really do like, really do like it. Why the hell is this an article? Have you ever considered doing the top 10 games with mountains? And this is on GameRant.com. 5 open world games with the best mountainous regions. Slow news day, sir.
Wow.
Our next top 10 games with mountains.
I'm up for it. Let's do it. So one from Michael Garcia. There's not a lot of people with new on hardware, so you'd think the homebrew scene is pretty small, and it is. And it's been about 10 years since someone released a game,
It's not only the homebrew scene that's small, it's the whole scene that's small.
Well, yeah.
Everything about
Generally,
it is small.
people only buy it for Tempest 3000, and then realise it's not a great
Wonder why
version
the hell
of
they bought
Tempest.
it.
But yeah, someone has
Probably
ported
because I'm
over.
supposed to buy it.
Someone's ported over a PS1 Net Eurose title, which was, anyone that doesn't know, was like a Sony sold like homebrew dev kit essentially. So they've ported over a title called Instant Death, or Insta Death, sorry, over to the new one, with a Yorose wrapper tool, which was created in the mid 2000s. So presumably this could be done with a lot of titles for not a great deal of point.
Long-time listener Lord Neil here has he backed a Kickstarter for the re-release of Broken Sword for PC and modern consoles. And he says if you like the original, this one's now remade in 4K. And the Kickstarter backers got their name in there. So he took the time to screen cap and send it to us. So we take the time to mention it. But congratulations, Neil.
And thank you for backing it.
Oh,
does it give you any more content, or is it just... Does it just
a
look
screenshot
nicer?
of his.
I think they just upscaled the visuals.
Right.
I think somewhat with AI but somewhat hand drawn. They did what? I was reading something about whether I can't remember now whether it was that someone was pissed off that they'd used the director's cut, or they were happy that they'd reinstated the cutscenes from the prior to the director's cut, because they were saying like the director's cut sort of doesn't, the intro to that then sort of cocks it up in the story and doesn't really work. Can't remember which way around it was, so maybe I'll find out.
I got one here from Mike James, and Mike,
Yes.
you sent in a game-changing, pardon the pun, market is about to the market is about to change forever. Evercade Alpha is coming in November.
Oh yeah, a real game
what-
changer.
What's going to change, Michael? How will our lives be different?
People are going to buy a silly little bar-top arcade cab and pay a fortune to put some games on it. It's basically an Evercade inside a bar-top arcade machine. I don't get it. I really don't.
Well, and I think we've said before, and we've sort of puzzled over it, but they must be, they're constantly making new cartridges, and like hardware's popping up all over the place that works with it. So I guess there's a market for it, and they're doing all right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're doing all right. They seem to every so often bring out like you say, new hardware, and yeah, lots of cartridges still coming out. So good luck to them. It's just not for me.
Cause cartridges.
Cause
Because
cartridges. Not heard that for a while. I wonder if I've still
Which
got
I
my
wouldn't be,
t-shirt.
averse to if everything else is a good idea.
Yeah. I wonder if I've still got my Cos Cartridges t-shirt for play. Can't remember. It might have been demoted
I've got my
to
Coleco Chameleon Booth shirt, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Remember Random wearing that around Portland?
with the Sansa
yeah.
pants as well.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, boy.
Them were the
Only
days.
a lucky few have that. All right. So, and then already I hope that, Israel and Lebanon and all those fuckers finish each other off so I can get back to traveling. And, dude, why am I literally paying for both sides of this? I saw a great meme the other day. It had the missiles. It had the missiles coming over into like Tel Aviv, and then missiles going up, and it had two arrows that said "my tax dollars."
Yeah.
Somehow, also my tax dollars. Yeah. So, yeah. So hopefully that shit settled down next year, and the Russians have been rolled out of. Basically, all the dickheads have gone back to their dickhead HQs, and we can actually fucking, reliably have vacations again. So,
They should all just stay home and punch themselves in the face.
they really should. Really should. Dickheads across the world, stay home and punch yourself in the face. But, okay, so Lord Neil sent this in. This guy is working on a GBA port of Mario 64. Okay. So I'm not a fan of Mario 64, I think ports to the Game Boy Advance sometimes end up looking a little
Hokey.
watery. Yeah. And I would say this. Well, so what he does, I mean, I don't want to bag on this guy, Joshua Barreto. I don't want to bag on the guy's effort. I mean, to downscale something to get it to work on, like, he gives an example of the hardware here, okay? So the GPU, 2D only, nothing useful for 3D. And then Nintendo 64, full 3D vertex transform, perspec correct, texture mapping, etc. Floating point support, yes, for the Nintendo 64. No, for the Game Boy Advance. Clock speed, 93.75 megahertz for the Nintendo 64, 16.78 megahertz for the Game Boy Advance. 32-bit data bus for the N64, 16-bit for the Game Boy Advance. Memory, 4 megabytes plus 16 kilobyte cache, and 32 kilobytes of memory on the Game Boy Advance. Half of a Commodore 64. I never really thought about it that way. And then it has 256K of ERAM. So, yeah, he did a hell of a lot to actually make a game, work. But it looks like one of those. Who's the guy that paints the heads with the scream and the hands and all that? Is that Salvador Dali or who's that?
No, the Scream was Picasso, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Picasso, yeah. The whole thing looks like a Picasso painting.
Yes, very impressionist.
Getting all
But
technical.
yeah, a good technical achievement. But I mean, I think the Tomb Raider GBA port that was about a year or so ago. I think that fared better. I don't know whether it's because the camera was more pulled out, or it was just she was in a grey cave with Lara on top of it, so it was a lot more readable. Whereas Mario 64 is just a lot of colours everywhere, and the character's quite large on screen, and yeah, it doesn't really give you a great deal of playability, maybe.
One here, sent in by Random Dave. Swavesy's Dr. Pinball says the machines are making a comeback. So it's an article on the BBC, a lot of pictures, not a huge amount of text, but you can read it at your leisure. Basically, this guy retired from PR for a major company in 2016 and set about repairing pinball machines for people. It's something he'd done for a long time as a hobby, and then fell into doing it for other people as well. So nice article, some nice photos. Although one of them, he says he's repairing pinballs and he's playing a video pin. But hey, but yeah, he's in St Ives in Cambridge, which is a place I visited last time I went to see Ada. Nice little town.
It's an alright little place, yeah.
Yeah, you been to St Ives, Random?
Yeah, I used to pop over there every now and again. Because a lot of our sports, school sports and all that age range sports, it was all kind of Huntingdon, St Ives, Wellingborough, Peterborough, all sort of that sort of area.
Yeah, a lot of history down there as well. A lot of connections with Oliver Cromwell. So well worth a visit if you're in the area.
One that I sent in, which I think's a pretty cool project that someone's worked on, is a massive overhaul mod for Gran Turismo 4 that they're calling Gran Turismo 4 Spec 2. Contrary to what you might think, it actually patches the online public beta version of the game, not the final retail version. But I'm not going to list them all now, but there is a huge amount of additions that it does, all sorts of like randomized races and randomized prizes, and added a few new cars, corrected some physics, it's changed a load of the UI.
Why would you randomize races? Because aren't they, fixed with the category of car that's in them? What do you mean?
Well, yeah, but then I think you can choose, basically make a, once you've got all of those, but I think you can just have a random one where it goes, right, here's a track and here's a category, and gives you infinite, and it's this long, and yeah, it just gives you sort of more variety to play with. I guess it's like having a free play option in the sense that instead of you selecting what options you want for this free race, it does it for you. I don't know. Like I say, I haven't checked it out yet, but I am going to check it out. Hopefully this week or next week. I'll try and get it all patched and sent over to the PlayStation. Yeah. Quite cool.
Nice. So, got a project here. It took me a couple reads to like make sure I was reading this right, and it's something I guess I never tried. So, the Super Game Boy adapter that goes into Super Nintendo lets you run Game Boy games, right? The reason it doesn't work with Super Game Boy games is the clock speed is much faster on the Super Game Boy, right? So 2.4% faster than the original Game Boy. So it said most casual gamers didn't notice, and the hardcore fanboys certainly did. It was an unwelcome side effect, and they're quite cross about it. So they came out with a hack to the Super Game Boy adapter to put in a daughter board to modify the clock speed. So, yeah, now you can make sure it's not 2.4% faster.
And I think, does it also add multiplayer?
Well, no. So I think the problem is because the clock speed's fucked on the original, they couldn't do the link port because the communication would go out of sync.
Yeah.
So there was a Super Game Boy 2 in Japan that actually had the correct speed and had the link port on it. But
never released for us.
Yeah.
They're still salty about the way things went.
I think by the time they did it,
some guy in a cave on Iwo Jima saying, "No, don't give him the Game Boy."
You make such nice games and such nice gadgets. You make one of your own.
So yeah, I sent that one in as well, and David Gyrick sent in the news that Lunar Remastered Collection has been announced for essentially all current and prior platforms, which is are they Mega CD or is it PlayStation, the original Lunar? But Mike won't know because it's a JRPG, but I don't know whether it's using the original. He's
got one in his Fire collection later.
I'll not pick one up tomorrow.
I seem to have that ingrained in my mind as being one of the infamous working designs translations that was a bit ropey. So I don't know whether that's getting tightened up or if I'm thinking of the right series. But yeah, if you're into good JRPGs, I think they've up-resed the FMV that was on the CD as well, which is all like, hand-drawn FMV. Then yeah, looks like they've done quite a nice work of it, and actually done real pixel fonts, unlike Final Fantasy remasters where they put god awful like true type fonts in it, and it on top of the pixel art artwork, and it just looks like shit. So yeah.
And finally, Lord Neil sent in the Tad Boy Colour, which is a YouTube video you can watch. But he says, this YouTuber made a little Game Boy Color. Looks cool. And I did skip through the video earlier today. I think it came in today, actually. I might be wrong. And he goes through kind of the inspiration for it. He shows a little keyring thing at the start. And then goes through his build process of lots of circuitry, lots of plastic stuff, and ends up with a tiny Game Boy Color at the end. So you can watch that at your leisure.
I was actually going through that video and kind of deciphering it as you were talking there, and I realized, he's talking about the thing I'm reading up on. I like some of these little builds. I mean, like the ingenuity of like sketching up a board, having it made and sent to your house for $30, and then building your own, using their chipset, condensing it down. I love the little what do you call it on here? The battery, the way they The way that like he shrank down to a little lipo battery just above the ports, you know. Probably some still good battery time on this thing.
And he got it through. It looks like there's an ad in it somewhere for PCB Way, so it looks like he's done the design and got them to make it and ship it to him.
Yep. So they do more now than just PCBs. They actually do like metal housings and stuff. Now it is priced accordingly, I assure you. But let's say like there was a guy that did a replica of a computer. I'm suddenly spacing on the name. It doesn't matter. But the upper and lower cases are identical. And it's got these aluminum rails that snap along the side. It looks kind of like a squat trapezoid or something. And the rails go along the side to join the top and bottom halves together. And then you've got like a square with sort of a triangled edge, front and rear plate, right? And then there's a couple lights and switches, and that's the computer. And then, of course, PCB. So it's a very rare computer. Somebody made a whole replica of it and then put all the CAD files available. So, like, you can literally send it, and PCB Way will laser cut, bend, powder coat, or paint, whatever finish you want, and then ship you this thing. So you can create a pretty much impossible housing. Not impossible. Like, you have to own a good sheet metal shop. Like, you'd have to be pretty well, equipped to build something like this. And you can just do it now. Just send it the PCB Way. It might be $600 for that case, but where else are you going to get one?
Yeah. Yeah. So that is us out of news, and this is the deadline that we had. I think some of us are going to learn.
I will have hardware flashback up as soon as I get home in the morning. I got pretty much everything written out. I just have to get home in the morning, and I have to record it and upload it. So, fortunately, right now I've got to go out the door for work, and I have to go do that now. It's 5 o'clock.
So thank you to everyone
works like that.
who sent in news items. Thank you for everyone who joined us live. Lord Neil Barmer has stuck around for the whole thing. He's still there. Not just showing up at the end like normal. So thank you, everyone. Next time we speak, we will be on the other side of Blackpool. No doubt shenanigans will be afoot. We may see some of you there. We probably won't see most of you there. But a good time will be had by all. So we will see you all next month. Night, everybody.
Goodbye.
Yes, we will. Good night, everybody.